messaging on the war has moved from the war is coming to an end to war going to be bombing Iran to the Stone Ages. Right. And we've heard a range of those kind of messages. So which is it? Are you winding this down or are you escalating
I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't tell you. It depends what they do. This is a critical period. They have a period of, till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I gave them an extension. They asked for an extension of 7 days, right? I said, Steve, give them 10 days. 10 days is up actually today, so I gave them 11, I guess, indirectly. I thought it was inappropriate the day after Easter. I want to be a nice person. They have till tomorrow. Now, we'll see what happens. And after that, they're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah. Stone Ages.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. If you are losing your mind trying to figure out what is going on with America's war with Iran, you're not alone. The person who started it doesn't even know what's going on. Look at this daily litany of seesawing rhetoric from the White House, compiled by MeidasTouch, from "we won the war" to "please help us," just one day apart. And then this profanity-laden rant from Easter Sunday about the Strait of Hormuz, which the president claimed just a few days earlier would open naturally. I do not envy the reporters tasked with covering this insanity, especially journalists from legacy media organizations like CBS, whose parent companies in some cases have already bent the knee to the Trump regime. I can promise you this. At MeidasTouch, we will continue to report what is happening, we will continue to offer expert analysis, and we will be unyielding in our commitment to the truth. And it turns out it's not just the audience that appreciates that, it's the entire media ecosystem. A few days ago, we added a new team member to the MeidasTouch lineup, Scott McFarlane. Many of you are already familiar with his excellent reporting, especially his coverage of the J6 prosecutions. Scott is an award-winning investigative journalist who spent 25 years in legacy media, the last 5 of those at CBS. I have long admired Scott's work, and today, as he joins MeidasTouch as our chief Washington correspondent, I get to call him a colleague. Here's our conversation. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, welcome to the family. Welcome to the MeidasTouch Network. Just been a couple of weeks here, but that's after 25 years in, I guess we're calling it the legacy media, 5 of those at CBS. That transition must be like drinking from a fire hose. This is a very different world. How are you settling in?
Yeah, it was my dream job. I was a kid who grew up of dreaming of being on a network TV newscast. So it was hard to walk away from your dream when you're a kid, except legacy media isn't what legacy media once was. I mean, the audiences are quickly eroding. Trust seems to be eroding too. And it just, in this moment in time, it doesn't make sense to wait for a preordained hour of the evening to tell the news you have. Waiting until 6:30 p.m. Eastern is a very antiquated notion to me. It feels like it's not 1996 anymore. If you have information, you want to get it out as far and wide as you can and reach millions of people through all the platforms independent media has. Just made a lot of sense.
I have gotten past mourning the demise of legacy media. It used to be something I spent time thinking about, but this brave new world actually presents a ton of opportunities. Are you there yet, or are you still looking at venerable institutions like CBS that has been gutted, and I would argue in some cases intentionally so? And do you think we have lost more than we have gained with the rise of institutions like MeidasTouch?
I'm not sure how these legacy media organizations, and I mean all of them, are going to grow by cutting. How are they going to be resilient in this time of a cacophony of news? How are they going to stay relevant and emergent if they keep cutting their people, their budgets, their spending? I know there's less ad revenue, so they probably don't have much of a choice, but this is not a strategy to either hold on to or rebuild audiences. The independent media space, MeidasTouch Network, and others who are emerging, they're investing, they're spending, and that's how you can find ways to grow things. Pretty basic business model. You grow by investing, and that's why independent is so strong right now. And it's clear to me, somebody watching this knows This is a platform where the person behind it is investing more of his or her time, more of his or her money, more of his or her resources. And that's going to draw people in and of itself.
So much of that growth is built on this rising trust between independent media and the consumer, and what I guess the psychologists have come to call parasocial relationships. This idea that you are developing an actual relationship with the audience. They come to trust you over time. And that depends on, in some cases, not just forthrightness, but a little bit of vulnerability and putting yourself out there. You, however, have really stuck to this line of no opinion. You're going to report. You're not going to do commentary. How do you strike that balance as an old school reporter who, I'm here for the facts versus everything that's going on both in the world with the need to pick sides and an audience that demands, it seems, a little bit more than that?
People want news in a different way. I'm just capitalizing on that. People don't want their news read to them off a teleprompter from a guy sitting in a studio the size of an airport hangar with, all ultra neon graphics and big shiny blue monitor walls. And they don't want all those theme music intros and bells and whistles and gadgets. They just want somebody to look directly into the camera and tell them what happened. Here's today's news, straight to the point. Just go. Just tell me the thing I need to know. My time's valuable. Your time's valuable. And I think they want somebody speaking to them declaratively and singularly, conversationally. Just explain the news. Explain the facts. Tell me what happened and tell me why it's important to my life and my family's life. And somehow in legacy linear media, they're still doing this theatrical presentation, which feels to a degree impersonal. That's the opposite of what people want right now. And I'll tell you something else. You can be a fact-based enterprise journalist and still insist on not platforming crap, platforming conspiracy theories, lies, and the whitewashing of history. If Trump is going to lie about the 2020 election or the facts of January 6th, you needn't just fact check him on it. You need not communicate that misinformation so as to poison people's information intake.
Hey everyone, it's Ken. I've got another amazing writing retreat to share with you. It just opened up and it sounds incredible. It's in the City of Lights, Paris, France, and it's hosted by two award-winning writing coaches, Brandy Larson and Anne-Marie Kelly. Just imagine writing in a place like this. Telling stories is what makes us human, and we all have those stories in our pockets about love and loss, joy and grief. Let Brandy and Anne-Marie help you pen your stories on the page. You'll gather each morning in an historic cafe, museum, bookstore, or garden to focus on craft and storytelling. And afternoons will be spent soaking in the culture, sights, and rich literary history of one of the world's most beautiful cities. This once-in-a-lifetime retreat is for writers of all ages and experiences who long to build community, search for answers, and dismantle the roadblocks that stand in our way. Anne-Marie and Brandy practice writing as a form of healing. And don't we all need that right now? If you want to write beautiful prose in a beautiful place, join Anne-Marie and Brandy in Paris this summer. No more excuses. This world-class coaching team will help you put your stories on paper in an amazing setting. Join them. Click the link in the show notes to learn more. Your departure from CBS was met by the White House comms office itself with some ridicule. I'll put the posts from Stephen Chung, and I think even Carolyn Levitt commented on that. I imagine you wear that as a badge of honor, but how did it feel having the White House itself comment on your career change?
I think it's validating whenever this president and this White House, speak about journalists. I mean, you hear this when you hear the president do one of those gaggles or one of those take all the questions in the room sessions. He tends to personally trash some of the reporters. Some people may find that repugnant. Some people may find that pugilistic and politically advantageous for the president. Some people may love it, but it certainly is validating for the reporters. They must have asked a tough question to draw that kind of ire. And at least I'm asking the right kind of questions and doing the right kind of reporting to draw their ire. If it was irrelevant to them, that'd be a bigger concern.
How do you draw a distinction between, picking the right side of history? I tend to describe it in those lofty terms because I think we're living in a history-defining moment, and being seen as a partisan, a hack.
Yeah. my opinion doesn't even carry a lot of currency here at the house. I mean, I got kids who don't want to hear what dad has to say about everything. I'm not sure my opinion is very valuable in the broader ecosphere of information. But spent a quarter century training as a journalist. I've got some skills at refining information and making it understandable to people, making the news understandable and figuring out things that haven't been reported yet. There's way too many stories, not nearly enough journalists in Washington, D.C. And those that are here, there are too many of them chasing the hour by hour truth social posts of Trump or the public, the press releases put out by the White House. We got enough people doing that. How about we look for things that haven't been covered? And there are three things that are making a lot of news in the last 15 months that aren't Trump. The courts have made a lot of news. They've been a firewall against a lot of executive actions and a lot of things the president's tried to do. We're going to chase those stories and tell stories about what's happening with the courts. There are civil servants, people who have either quit the administration or blown the whistle on the administration from inside. Anytime that happens, no matter who the president is, that's newsworthy. We should pay more attention to that. And respectfully to all members of Congress, because I cover both parties and I cover all 535 members of Congress. Right now, the minority is making more news than the minority in the Congress usually does. Democrats really have pressed the Epstein issue with great success in this Congress. Democrats have launched their own investigations of the Trump administration, even though they don't have subpoena power. Republicans have been accused of being a rubber stamp. The Democrats in Congress right now are making a little more news, at least more news that has yet to be covered. So that's been a focus area over the last 15 months. Doesn't mean I'm taking a side, just means I'm trying to find where the news is.
How much do you worry about blowback when the White House itself is commenting on, for example, your career change, when you have these attacks on other journalists that sometimes venture into like legal harassment? And then, of course, you have the mob itself, which the president has deployed very effectively in some cases to harass those who would expose the lies and the crimes of the administration. How do you weigh that against your duty to tell the truth?
I think the White House press corps, of which I'm not a member, but the White House press corps is developing some pretty thick skin. They're getting accustomed to some of these dressing downs, and perhaps sometimes they wear it as a badge of honor. I've developed some thick skin, at least thicker skin, over the last 5 years because I've been catching hell every day. I covered the January 6th Capitol prosecutions. I mean, there were 1,500 plus people, many of whom admitted attacking police or attacking their own government. They were not shy about attacking those who covered the criminal cases on social media or in person at the courthouse. So I'm somewhat acclimated to all this. But if you're not covering the hard story, if you're not drawing the ire or the attention of newsmakers, you're probably missing out on something important.
That was an excerpt of my conversation with Scott MacFarlane. The full unedited interview is on my Substack page. The link is below. And Scott and I are working out the details of a regular Substack Live to weigh in on the war with Iran, on national security, and on whatever the Trump administration throws at us next. Thanks.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.